right, hey everybody, TG here. It is October 14th, and welcome to the Moxie Minutes on StockCharts TV. So we've been having a pretty good time doing this for the last few weeks, and enjoy working with StockCharts.com. They have great people, and as we continue forward, I appreciate the sales that people have been doing, picking up the Moxie Indicator. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, let me know. I want to make sure that the indicator is working for you, and that my method of trading is working for you too as well. Now, one thing I did want to let anybody else who's been watching this kind of see that if you come over here to profitpilot.com and you go to services and you scroll down, this is where you can find a little bit more information about what I do and everything else. And if you guys want to learn how to actually use the tool, I have classes that I've taught and put on. They're short or long, it depends on which one you want. But you come over here and you can take some of these classes if you're interested to say, okay, I like what I do here with the Moxie Minutes type thing, but if you really want to go learn a little bit more in depth about how I use the indicator, and we see a whole bunch of setups here and there, I really do a good job going in through there and doing a lot of slides and a lot of presentations to show you exactly what it is that I'm looking for when I trade. So yeah, you can come over here and you can catch everything on there at profitpilot.com. Otherwise, we're going to be over here at stockcharts.com, and we'll have all the links in there for you in the comments section or in the description. And so there you go. Now, let's dive into the charts, see what's going on. We've got some pretty wild movements, but that's been happening. But of course, we know that because the market is, in the process of pulling back, and it's just going to be kind of a choppy mess. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is jump into the S&P and see what's going on over here. There are a few things to be talked about while we're in through this. We kind of talk about this on the bigger picture with the daily, and then I actually want to come over here on the weekly time frame. So if we go over here and we look at this on a weekly time frame, the thing that I've been talking about recently is that we are on the weekly 21 EMA. That is a typical place of support, and we do need to figure that price is probably going to bounce right there, which it seems like it's doing for now. What you'll also notice is that the wicks kind of went below there, but that's okay. The bodies of the candles have actually stayed above the weekly 21. And I think that's something really important to note. And we can see that in the past, the weekly 21 has been support. And so that was kind of the first line in the sand and see what's going to happen there. Now, what I always say is it depends on what's going to happen after the bounce. That's what we need to figure out. And so coming into the weekly 21, here we are. And then we're getting that bounce, and we need to figure out, is this a bounce up into resistance and basically like a double top? And is price then going to go lower? Or is price coming in here, it's going to get itself figured out and then continue on back up? So if we go look a little bit further behind and we kind of look at some of the other examples, here's where I want to show you an example of where it pulled back a little bit further. You can see here that price on the weekly S&P came into the weekly 21, and you can see it did bounce, but then ultimately what that turned out to be was more like a double top, and we then pulled back fairly hard, even further. And so that is something we really need to look for and be careful about. And this one, on that pullback, it did come into the weekly 50. So watch out for that. We just don't have enough information. We're just going to have to let time go by and see if that's going to be a thing. And then once it recovered, you can see it stayed over the weekly 21 until, well, the next situation. So that's not what I want to talk about in this point. It's just simply talking about here that we need to figure out if that's going to happen, because, as I said, bounce off the weekly 21. Is it going to come up into resistance? And then maybe, are we going to come down to the weekly 50? And we just don't know this yet. But for now, weekly 21 to support, and we're going to have to see where it's going to go further. So coming in through here on the daily chart, there so far has been a really, really nice elf shoe. And this is what I talk about in those classes. This is how you guys pick up the lingo that I talk about. We've got the rules, we got the checklist, we got all that stuff for you when you pick up the classes. So you can see here there's the leg, there's the heel, there's the arch of the foot, there's the ball of the foot, and now we're getting that elf toe. So great, we got that going on. And then on the hourly chart for the S&P, we could see that this was a trampoline move. So price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above 0. Remember, the last couple weeks, we've been talking a lot about inverse trampoline moves since the market was moving down. And an inverse trampoline move is exactly the opposite. Price should not be over the 50 if the Moxie indicator is below 0. You can see the same thing over here. We could see that prices up there was almost an inverse trampoline, but mostly what I was looking for is we needed to have price come back down to the hourly 50. And it came down below. and then dip back up. And we could see where yesterday, so I'm recording this Thursday, yesterday you can see price right there holding the 15-minute 50 and the Moxie indicator was moving up. So that's something to note and pay attention to. One other thing I just want to talk about, that if this is going to kind of be bearish at some point, we do need to be careful because the hourly 200 is still in a downtrend. And this could all be a flag into that kind of resistance. And so we do need to just remember that we do have the hourly 50 still below the hourly 200, and that the hourly 200 is still in a downtrend. So we really need to be careful out there. Yes, today was a big pop. The consumer price index, inflation, and numbers like that came out, and it was less bad basically than they were expecting. So a lot of things popped up. I would be looking at basically the daily 50. We need to still kind of work on getting past that. So while we have a good move up here, we're not out of the woods. It's really not confirmed if we're really going to be going up longer term. So then we get into the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ and the S&P basically going to be looking very similar. You can see that elf shoe right here, leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot, getting that elf toe. And then here we didn't get, the S&P had an exact trampoline move. The NASDAQ was close. It basically did the same kind of pattern. You can see that price was coming down, but the Moxie indicator kept coming up, and that was a form of positive divergence. And then you can see here, same thing on that 15-minute time frame with price holding the 15-minute 50. So it's kind of the same thing there, so we won't talk too much about that. And then if we look at the IWM, this is actually looking fairly interesting. If we look over here on the weekly and daily, the thing I've been talking about this for a long time is just how much it's flagging, and it doesn't look terrible for right now. Yes, price is basically coming into the monthly 10. Okay, we can't really tell too much except that it's just coming in there and probably should maybe bounce off of that. And then here on the weekly, we can see prices basically coming into the weekly 50, and the whole time the 8 has been over the 21. So that's something to note, because with the fast moving average over the slow moving average, we're still technically bullish on this time frame with that. So I found that interesting. And coming here on the daily chart, we're seeing that price was coming into an uptrending daily 200. And then we were just starting to see something kind of form over there on the daily chart, and we've now popped up. So this is looking fairly good too. The one thing I was watching yesterday was this pullback into an uptrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator above 0. And then we could also see here yesterday that price held the 15-minute 50 and the Moxie indicator looking pretty good too. So there were some good developments in here, and these were some of the alerts that I was sending out to my subscribers. We took a couple long positions yesterday, and I said, it looks like the market could be bouncing today. And sure enough, it did. Now, at this point, I'd like to see confirmation, and that confirmation is going to be, I want to see price continue to follow these moving averages and stay supported. Otherwise, if price comes up here and the moving average is down here, it's going to fall back down to it. Same thing here. Price is up here, moving average is down here. It fell back down to it. So I'd like to see some confirmation in that way. All right, then ATER, I actually need to go over here on this time frame. ATER was just an example that I wanted to show you guys about, well, how does a move fail? Like, how does a long move fail, or how does a short move begin? And I thought ATER was a pretty good example of this that you guys might want to look at. And let's see, going back all the way to this date here. And on the daily chart, what we can see is right here. So when the daily chart came into the daily 21, temporary support, or right there, we want to see if it's going to hold or fail. And that area is right here on the hourly chart. And so if we zoom in, and what I want to show you, and this relates to the S&P right now and to just the overall general markets, is that for the S&P, we could see that price came over the 50 and then came down into the 50, right? That's exactly what we had. Now, we did have a pretty strong move. The S&P is basically up there compared to ATER. But what I want to show you, and this is where I was saying I want to see confirmation of these moves, is basically we need to make sure that price stays over the hourly 50 going forward. So at this point, if things are going to continue to be bullish, we need to see price follow that moving average, because if it doesn't, you can see here, like if price broke the hourly 50, and then you can see the 8 getting below the 21. That is what then started the downtrend here. So that's why I'm mentioning this, is just we need to kind of keep trust but verify. We need to keep watching these things to make sure that they're actually going to work out. So just keep that in mind. And then going forward, you can see there was kind of another bounce. Right in through here, and you can see that price failed the hourly 50 again, and that was the next move to the downside. And then we can kind of see right in through here, we can get a little bit tricky, okay? So you can see it held the 50 and then got resistance by the 200. This is why I mentioned the hourly 200 as a possible resistance. And then we did get a regular trampoline move here. And this is a place where you might have been taking a trade. This trading, not everything's perfect. You take the setups you get, and it looked like it was going to be a good trade. But then you know what? Right here, this is what I'm talking about. We need price to continue to follow the hourly 50 in this case. Otherwise, it's not a good trade. It wasn't a move that worked out for you. So this is kind of my concern when it comes to the market, is we could be getting into this as well. We've got some funky interactions kind of happening with the market, and we just need to, follow the moving averages right there until it doesn't work out. All right, so then let's jump back over to Bug. This was another one that I wanted to talk about some of the historical things to show you, well, how did it actually get going to the upside? And so what we're going to be looking at is back here. So I wanted to zoom in on these things because this was a good area. And let's see if we can get back into this. There we go. So if you look here, these are both basically the same setups. You can see right here, I'll leave my cursor right there. So you can see that there was a nice setup there and there was a nice setup there, and you can see how that moved on the hourly. So let's kind of dive in there so I can show you how the Moxie indicator works and then how you can apply it to your trading and then what we're looking for good trades. I showed you ATER as a long trade that failed. Now I'll show you a couple long trades that worked. So notice that for Bug, you have price coming down here forming a level on the hourly time frame. Notice that you've got the Moxie indicator moving up like that. That is your positive divergence. And then if this is going to be working out, as I said, I want to see price continue to follow the hourly 50. And you can see in through here, price did continue to follow the hourly 50 until it didn't. So that was the beginning of that move. Now let's look at the next one. We kind of see the same thing. Notice the double bottom. Let me get rid of the stuff at the bottom. Notice this double bottom right there. Notice the positive divergence. So double bottom, but the Moxie indicator is higher. I got a higher low. That's positive divergence. That's telling you that internally there is energy wanting to go up and that you should be paying attention to that if you want to go long, or if you're short, you might want to make some different decisions. And what we can see here is that's where the Moxie price trigger fired. So what that indicates is that the Moxie indicator is now crossing from negative to positive. You can see then price tested the hourly 50, and then we can see right here, it continued to follow and test the hourly 50. So these are good ways to then look at long moves. And all of this to note is look what happened or where the hourly 50 crossed over the hourly 200. And these are the things that we need to be watching for with the S&P. We need to make sure that, like basically right here, that the S&P, once it jumps up, that it continues to follow the hourly 50. If it doesn't, like I showed you on ATER, then we need to reverse course and change our plans. All right, then another one, DOCU, kind of showing you some things that we're seeing currently with this market. Let me kind of zoom out here. So the first thing that I wanted to show you, actually, let me slide this up for us. The first thing I wanted to show is that, yeah, we've got price coming back down into support, or what we would imagine as support, right? So on DOCU coming into the daily 200, and what you'll notice is it's doing a double bottom off of that, right? You'll see leg, heel, arch of the foot, ball of the foot. There's your elf tail. Pretty interesting. Now, what does that look like on the hourly time frame? So number one, you'll see that price has been going down. Notice that the Moxie indicator has been going up, so it's a higher low. There's your positive divergence. That's the thing that's giving you a clue of what's going on. And then what you'll see is now we got the Moxie price trigger, which indicates that the indicator has gone from negative to positive, crossing over that zero line. And then we look for tests. We look for some sort of support. And what you'll see is price did not hold the hourly 50. But what it did do is a trampoline move, and right in through there. So price below the 50, but the Moxie indicator above zero is a trampoline move. And again, that's all after this positive divergence that we had setting this whole thing up. So at this point, I want to make sure that price turns around, goes up, and this is looking pretty good. We've got the 8 over the 21. The Moxie indicator looks pretty solid. And at this point, we just need price to continue to move up. So if that continues to happen, great. We can trade long on that. But if this doesn't work out and starts to roll over and go down, then you need to change course, and that's why you have stops in there. So DOCU I thought was looking pretty interesting for us. And I think even on the, let me show you on the, yeah, so here was another situation of why it kind of looked interesting, is if you look here at the weekly and the monthly, here's price sitting right on the monthly 10, and for the weekly, here's price sitting right on the weekly 50. So there might be something to this as far as that support and seeing if DOCU can move up. Another one, Xilinx XLNX. And if you look at this, it's been doing pretty well. You can see right here, basically bounced off of the weekly 21. The monthly chart looks fine, so not too much to say about that. And then if we come over here and we put it on the daily and the hourly, what are we noting? So look first, we had price bounce off of the daily 50. Let me actually adjust. There we go. So what you'll notice is this is a regular trampoline move. A regular trampoline move is when price is below the 50, but the Moxie indicator is above 0. Looking pretty good. In fact, you could see it back here too. You could see price was below the 50, but the Moxie indicator was above 0. Those are high pressure, high buoyancy type trades, because imagine trying to take a beach ball and trying to push it underwater. It doesn't want to do that. So that's what it's trying to show you, is that the energy is still positive even though price is below the moving average. And so that's why I call it a trampoline move, is because it's like you just jump on the trampoline and it shoots you up like that. So that worked out pretty well. Now, how do we actually confirm that? Well, you can see here that the 8 was over the 21. And how about this? Price pulled back right into an uptrending hourly 50 with the Moxie indicator above 0. So that was a good setup right there, and started to take off. Now, have you missed it? I doubt. I'm sure there are going to be opportunities. Just look for a little pullback, and then we can get ourselves into something like this. So Xilinx was another interesting setup that was happening out there with the Moxie indicator. Then DNN. I want to talk about this as far as the uranium stuff. And actually, we need to go down to the 15-minute time frame. So I left you guys off. I think I spoke about uranium last week as an example of one of the inverse trampoline moves. And then it worked out. So this is one that worked out to both the don't go in yet, and then also to the, yeah, okay, this is now a long trade. So what I want to show you is that an inverse trampoline move is one of two things. It's either a false long, meaning don't go long, or it's the entry to a short. And if you're kind of looking at something, trying to get ready to go long, and it's just going to help keep you out of a failed trade. And you can see right here that price was over the hourly 50, but the Moxie indicator was below 0. So that was not a good trade. That wasn't ready yet. And then you could see here that price was getting rejected by the underside of a downtrending 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator below 0. So that was also telling you this was not ready to go. Okay, so then we got that, but maybe you're going to keep your eye on it. And because ultimately what we're doing is we're seeing on the daily chart, the price is just basically pulling back and flagging into the daily 50. So we're looking for support. We're just looking for something to tell us when to go. And then once this kind of keeps, drops and pulled back, we can see it's still building this level here. And then you can see that there is some positive divergence starting to form on the hourly chart. What is the Moxie indicator trying to tell you? Like, price went lower, or at least price went to the same low, double bottom, but the Moxie indicator had a higher low. There's your positive divergence. And so you keep an eye on this and trying to figure out, okay, is this going to work out to the long side? Well, here was the exact moment this worked out. Look at the 15-minute time frame just the other day. You see how price got on top of and then bounced off of the 15-minute 50, and then the Moxie indicator was over 0 and looking pretty good. There you go. And even leading into that, you could see there was another double bottom with positive divergence on the 15-minute time frame. So this had a few layers of divergence, positive divergence coming into this. And then you could see right here that price bounced off of an uptrending 15-minute 50, and that's what took this thing off. So that worked out pretty well. You can see that there were some huge volume spikes on this, and uranium in general is doing pretty well. All right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end of the Moxie Minutes for today. So careful with the markets out there. We are seeing some bullish slants out there. We are seeing the market up. It's pretty good. but I think we need some follow through. We got some good news about the economy and inflation not being as bad as people thought. And so while this is all good and the market has responded that way, there was still kind of low volume going with this, and we need to make sure that we actually see price continue to follow. We've got some mixed signals out there. We still have something like the hourly 200 is still angled down. We've got some work to do, and we need to make sure that if the market keeps going up, that it does keep going up, and make sure that it doesn't come up to a double top resistance and then rolls over. So it's still challenging out there, but we're seeing some strength, and so we play the strength and we play what we see right here and right now. So great. Thanks again for everybody tuning in, and I'll see you again next week.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.